Chosen one. People are noticing you stopped explaining yourself and pleasing others, and that shift has them unraveling while you're thriving. Right now, someone is scrolling your page trying to read between the lines. You cut off access to your energy, attention, and validation without giving anyone a warning. You didn't make a speech. You didn't justify your piece. You simply removed the audience from a show they thought they controlled, and now your silence is louder than any explanation you ever gave. You thought you were disappearing, but really, you were leveling up, and the universe is exposing who only loved you when you were easy to use. You thought you were just tired. Maybe you were going through something heavy, and didn't have the energy to keep everyone updated. Maybe your body started rejecting the stress of maintaining relationships that felt like unpaid labor. Maybe you got sick and realized that certain people only showed up when something was needed from you. Whatever the catalyst was, you started pulling back. And here's what you didn't know was happening in the spiritual realm while you were pulling back in the physical. Every time you chose silence over explanation, you were closing a portal that energy vampires had been using to access you. Every time you didn't respond to that guilt trip message, you were severing a cord attached to your life force. Every time you stayed home instead of showing up out of obligation, you were reclaiming energy you'd been hemorrhaging for too long. You thought you were just being flaky or antisocial, but the universe saw it differently. The universe saw you finally cooperating with your elevation, and it started moving chess pieces on your behalf that you won't fully understand until you look back and realize that everything that fell apart was actually falling into place. The people you pulled back from felt it immediately, not consciously at first, but energetically the shift registered. It was like an addict waking up and realizing the dealer moved away without notice. And that withdrawal being experienced right now is going to reveal some things you need to see. Some are about to crash out publicly. Some are going to reach out with manufactured emergencies. Some are going to start copying your entire personality, trying to reverse engineer your glow up. And all of it is going to confirm what your intuition was telling you all along. Nobody actually knew you. People knew what could be extracted from you. Someone who used to benefit from your people-pleasing tendencies is spiraling because you stopped playing that role. Maybe it's a friend who loved that you were always available to listen to problems but never asked about yours. Maybe it's a family member who got used to you seeking approval on every decision. Maybe it's a coworker who leaned on you to do emotional labor. Maybe it's an ex who thought you'd never fully move on. Whoever this is, the breakdown isn't happening because you're missed. The breakdown is happening because what you gave is missed. The version of you that explained yourself constantly because it gave people ammunition. Every time you over-explained, you gave information that could be used to judge you, to copy you, to sabotage you, to make someone feel superior. The version of you that asked opinions about your life because it gave people power. Someone got to play advisor, mentor, the wise one. Someone got to feel important by having influence over your choices. The version of you that was always available because it made people feel special. Anyone could reach you anytime, demand your attention, monopolize your energy, and you'd show up every single time without fail. But now you're unreachable in ways that have nothing to do with your phone being off. Now you're making moves people only find out about after everything is already done. Now you're living a whole life that nobody has access to anymore. And it's eating people alive. Because here's the thing about energy vampires. Feeding time doesn't get missed. And you were feeding time. Every conversation where problems got dumped on you while nobody asked about yours. Every time someone called only when something was needed. Every moment taken from you without anything given back. That was feeding. And now the restaurant is closed permanently. Watch what happens next. Different tactics are going to be tried to get you to engage. The guilt trip, the fake emergency, the indirect post, the mutual friend doing reconnaissance, the sudden interest in your well-being after months of silence. These are all hooks, fishing lines cast into your ocean hoping you'll bite. But you're not biting anymore, because you've developed something people don't have. Discernment. You can smell manipulation now. You can feel when energy is off. You've upgraded your spiritual sight, and now you see through the games you used to fall for. Your silence is doing something that your words never could. It's setting a boundary that can't be negotiated. When you used to explain yourself, people would debate your explanations, finding holes in your reasoning, guilting you into reconsidering, making you feel like you owed more than you were giving. But silence? Silence is final. Silence is clear. Silence says everything without saying anything. And it's driving certain people absolutely crazy, because there's nothing to argue with, nothing to manipulate, nothing to twist into making you the bad guy. This silence is also revealing who actually cared about you versus who cared about what you could do for people. The ones who genuinely love you are respecting your space, not demanding explanations, not making your boundaries about themselves, simply trusting that you know what's best for you and supporting you from a distance if that's what you need. But the energy vampires, the silence is unbearable. Engagement is needed so the dynamic that was working can continue. Your silence disrupts the entire game plan, and that disruption is causing true colors to be revealed in ways you need to see. You're learning that not everyone deserves an explanation. Not everyone has earned the right to your story as it unfolds. Some people only get to see the finished product, if anything gets seen at all. And that's not being secretive or shady. That's being wise. That's understanding that certain people will take the information you share and use it against you, either by copying your moves, criticizing your choices, or jinxing your blessings with jealousy and doubt. You've learned this lesson the hard way too many times, so now you're implementing it. The silence is also creating mystery around you that's actually making you more magnetic. When people can't figure you out, when tabs can't be kept on what you're doing, when you're not broadcasting your every move, it creates intrigue. Suddenly people who barely gave you attention before are very interested in what you have going on. People who took you for granted are realizing access to something valuable might have been lost. And while renewed interest might be flattering on the surface, you're wise enough now to see it for what it is. You aren't missed. Having control of the narrative about you is missed. If this touched your heart and mind, hype this video so more chosen ones can receive this message. This transformation you're going through is revealing exactly who the energy vampires in your life were, and some might surprise you. That friend who always seemed so supportive. Look closer at how the reaction came when you stopped giving daily updates about your life. That family member who claimed to care so much. Notice how the response shifted now that you're not seeking approval on every decision. That coworker who was always so friendly. Watch how the behavior changed now that you're not available for those hour-long conversations about problems. Energy vampires are people who survive by feeding off others. No light of their own exists, so attachment to people who do have light becomes necessary. And you, chosen one, you've always had a bright light. Even when you couldn't see it yourself, even when you were at your lowest, there was something about your energy that people were drawn to. The problem is that not everyone drawn to your light has good intentions. Some people are drawn to it specifically so it can be drained, so it can be dimmed, so it can be used to fuel themselves while leaving you running on empty. These energy vampires had you convinced that you were helping, positioning themselves as people who needed your support, your advice, your time, your energy, and because you have a good heart, because you're naturally a giver, you showed up for these people over and over again. But here's what you're realizing now. It was never enough. No matter how much you gave, more was always needed. No matter how many times you were there, nobody was there for you in the same way. The relationship was completely one-sided. You were giving everything. Everything was being taken. And somehow you were the one feeling guilty about not doing enough. Now that you've pulled back your energy, now that you've cut off the supply, true nature is being revealed. Nobody is concerned about your well-being. The anger is about you no longer being available to be used. The worry isn't about the friendship. The worry is about what your absence means for someone's supply. Who's going to listen to problems now? Who's going to provide constant validation? Who's going to make someone feel special and important? Those were the real questions running through minds when the realization hit that you changed. And masks are slipping as scrambling happens to find another source of supply. Everything that's happened up until this point has been preparation for what's coming next. Every person who drained you taught you to recognize energy vampires. Every situation where you over-explained yourself taught you the power of silence. Every relationship where you dimmed your light taught you that your brightness isn't negotiable. You've been in training, and you didn't even know it. But the universe did. The universe has been preparing you for a level of success that requires a different version of you. A version that doesn't explain, a version that doesn't seek permission, a version that moves in silence and strikes with precision. That's why people from your past had to go. Not because bad people exist everywhere, not even because you were necessarily wronged, but because certain people couldn't exist in the reality you're stepping into. Your next level requires a new circle. It requires people who match your energy instead of drain it. It requires connections built on reciprocity instead of dependency. It requires relationships where you don't have to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. And the only way to make space for those people was to release the ones who were taking up space without deserving it. You're going to accomplish something you've been trying to accomplish for a long time. And when you do, you're going to look back and realize that it only became possible after you cut off the energy vampires. You're going to see clearly how those connections were blocking your blessings, how doubt was dimming your vision, how jealousy was jinxing your opportunities, how drama was draining the energy you needed to invest in yourself. The breakthrough you're about to have is going to make everything make sense retroactively. You've stopped feeling the need to announce your life changes to people who weren't even paying attention when you were announcing. You used to post about your goals. You used to share your plans. You used to tell people about the moves you were making before you made them. And what happened every single time? Someone planted doubt. Someone questioned your readiness. Someone reminded you of a past failure. Someone suggested you wait a little longer. Someone gave unsolicited advice that made you second-guess yourself. And you're done with that cycle. Now you move differently. You make the move first. Then people find out about it when it's already done. Nobody can talk you out of something that's already executed. Nobody can plant doubt in something that's already manifested. Nobody can question your capability when you're already succeeding at the thing someone said you couldn't do. This shift in how you operate is what's really pressing people. Being used to having input, being used to being in the know before things happen, being used to feeling like some influence over your decisions exists. And now the realization is hitting that influence never actually existed. You were always going to do what you wanted. You just used to give people the courtesy of pretending their opinion mattered. That courtesy has expired, and the people who benefited from it are scrambling to figure out how to get it back. Watch how questions suddenly start getting asked more about your life. Notice how information fishing is happening, that used to be given freely. Pay attention to how insertion into your business is being attempted under the guise of caring about you. These are people who are realizing that a demotion from insider to outsider in your life has occurred, and the handling of this isn't going well. Because being on the outside means control of the narrative is gone. Positioning as the person who knew you when is gone. Taking credit for influencing your success is gone. Just spectators now. And for people who were used to being players in your life, that's a devastating demotion. People are noticing that when you do speak, it lands differently. You've stopped over-explaining your decisions, which means when you make a choice, you simply make it. No lengthy justification. No preemptive defense against criticism that hasn't even come yet. No apologizing for choices that don't require apologies. You've learned that justification weakens your position. It signals that uncertainty exists, that validation is being sought, that you can be talked out of things, so you've stopped doing it. This shift is making people extremely uncomfortable because being used to having access to your decision-making process was normal. Being used to being able to plant doubt during the explanation phase was normal, but there is no explanation phase anymore. You decide, you act, you move forward, and people only find out about it when it's already in motion. This removes the ability to influence you, and for people who felt powerful by having that influence, losing it feels like losing you. but nobody ever had you. Access to a version of you that didn't know its own power yet is what people had. You've stopped filling silences with nervous chatter. You used to feel responsible for keeping conversations going, for making other people comfortable, for preventing awkward pauses. You'd volunteer information about yourself just to have something to say. You'd share personal details with people who didn't earn that level of intimacy just because the silence felt heavy. Not anymore. Now you let silence sit. You let awkward moments be awkward. You let other people carry their share of the conversation instead of doing all the heavy lifting. And what you're discovering is that most people have nothing of substance to say when you're not prompting. This is revealing who actually brings value to your life versus who was just enjoying the show you were putting on. The people who can sit in comfortable silence with you, those are real connections. The people who panic when you're not filling every gap with words, those were using you as entertainment or emotional labor. And struggle is happening now because you're no longer performing that role. You're just being. And being is quiet. Being is still. Being doesn't need to prove itself through constant communication. You've also stopped responding to every message immediately. You used to feel obligated to reply the moment someone reached out, even if you were in the middle of something important, even if you didn't have the energy for that conversation, even if the message was draining just to read. You'd drop everything because you didn't want to be rude. You didn't want someone to feel ignored. You didn't want to seem like you thought you were too good to respond. But you've realized that an immediate response isn't respect. It's people-pleasing. And you've retired from that job. Some of the same people who are mad at you for pulling back your energy are now trying to copy your entire transformation, suddenly being on a self-improvement journey, suddenly posting about boundaries and self-love, suddenly spiritual and awakened. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice something off about it. It's not authentic. It's performance. The internal work isn't being done. The external results are being mimicked because it's working for you. These are the chameleons. The people who don't have a core identity, so different personalities get tried on depending on who someone is around. And here's why you needed to see this. Because it's confirming something your intuition was telling you all along. These people were never supporting your growth. You were being studied. Your patterns were being learned. Your energy was being absorbed. And now that you've pulled back, attempts to become you are happening because knowing how to be oneself doesn't exist. That friend who's suddenly interested in the same things you're into, that was always happening. You just didn't notice because you were too busy being yourself to recognize someone was being you. But watch what happens with these copycats. The version of your transformation being performed is going to fall apart because it's not rooted in genuine change. You can't fake a spiritual awakening. You can't perform your way into real growth. You can't copy someone else's healing and expect it to work for you. And when the copied version crumbles, blame is somehow going to come toward you. You'll hear that you changed, you're different, you're not the same person, and you're going to smile because you'll finally understand. You were never the same person. You were just playing a role that made people comfortable. And now that the show's over, the fact that you're no longer performing can't be handled. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something. But talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Something wild is happening that you might not have noticed yet. The less you reveal, the more magnetic you become. The less you explain, the more people want to understand. The less you show, the more people want to see. You've accidentally stumbled onto a universal law that most people spend their whole lives not understanding. Mystery is magnetic, scarcity creates value, silence commands respect, and you're embodying all three without even trying. People who barely noticed you before are suddenly very interested in what you have going on. People who took you for granted are realizing access to something valuable might have been lost. People who thought everything about you was known are discovering nothing was actually known at all. And the beautiful part, you're not doing this for attention. You're not being mysterious to be cool. You're simply protecting your peace, and it's having a side effect you didn't expect. You're becoming untouchable in the best possible way. Not everyone attracted to your new energy has good intentions. Some people are drawn to your light specifically so attempts to dim it can be made. Some are fascinated by your mystery because solving it and exposing you is the goal. Some are interested in your transformation because finding flaws in it is the desire. This is why your discernment is more important now than ever. Just because someone's interested doesn't mean worthy of access. Just because someone's curious doesn't mean answers are deserved. Just because someone's attracted to your energy doesn't mean knowing how to honor it exists. The real ones will prove themselves through consistency, through respect for your boundaries, through celebration of your wins without jealousy, through support that doesn't require explanation. Those are your people. Everyone else is just fascinated by the show. And you're learning the difference. You're learning that popularity isn't the same as purpose, attention isn't the same as alignment, and not everyone who wants in deserves entry. This discernment you're developing right now is going to protect you from making the same mistakes you made in the past. You're not letting just anyone into your energy field anymore. Earning it is required, and most won't. There's the person posting indirect messages clearly aimed at you, cryptic quotes about fake friends, vague statements about people changing, passive-aggressive content about being disappointed in people, and you know it's about you. Everyone knows it's about you, but you're not responding, you're not commenting, you're not even acknowledging that you see it. And that lack of reaction is making the spiral harder, because here's what was wanted: engagement, defense of yourself, asking what's wrong, giving the attention being desperately fished for. But you've recognized the trap. Engaging means giving supply, defending means showing that something got to you, asking what's wrong means playing the game. So you're doing none of it. You're scrolling past those posts, like you're scrolling past ads, because to you that opinion has about as much value as a pop-up trying to sell you something you don't need. Then there's the person who's suddenly everywhere you are, showing up at places you frequent, attending events you're known to be at, trying to manufacture casual run-ins, and when these encounters happen, performance is happening. Acting happy, acting successful, acting like thriving is happening too. But you can see through the performance. You can feel the desperation underneath. You need to be seen winning, so you'll think losing you didn't hurt. But the fact that being seen matters proves it did. Meanwhile, you're not putting on any show, you're just existing. And your authentic peace next to performed happiness exposes the difference. Some are taking the route of character assassination, talking to mutual connections about you, painting themselves as the victim of your transformation, telling stories where facts are twisted just enough to make you look bad, creating a narrative where your boundaries are cruelty and your silence is punishment, attempts to turn your circle against you, attempts to isolate you the way isolation is being felt. But here's what wasn't counted on. The people who truly know you see through it. The people who matter can spot manipulation when it's this obvious, and the people who believe the lies, those people were never yours anyway. Let's get specific about what thriving actually looks like for you now. Because this isn't just spiritual talk, this is showing up in your actual life in measurable ways. First, your energy. You wake up differently now. There's no dread about who might have to be dealt with that day. No anxiety about messages needing responses. No exhaustion before the day even starts because emotional labor ahead is already being anticipated. You wake up with energy that's yours to spend on your own priorities, and that difference is everything. Your mental clarity has sharpened in ways you didn't even know were possible. When you were constantly explaining yourself, justifying your choices, managing other people's emotions, your mind was cluttered, full of voices that weren't yours, opinions that weren't yours, judgments that weren't yours. Now, your mind is quiet, clear, focused. You can think without interference. You can make decisions without confusion. You can trust your intuition, because it's not being drowned out by everyone else's noise. This clarity is allowing you to see opportunities you would have missed before, to make connections you wouldn't have made, to take actions you would have second-guessed. Your creativity has exploded, because creativity requires space, and you've created space by removing all the people who were taking up room in your mental and emotional landscape. You're creating things now that you couldn't create before, not because skill was lacking, but because energy and peace were lacking. Every time you had to explain yourself to someone who wasn't going to understand anyway, that was energy that could have gone into your art, your business, your passion projects. Now that energy is yours to invest in creation, and it's showing. Your physical health has improved. Maybe you didn't even realize how much stress you were carrying from people-pleasing until you stopped doing it. But your body knows. The tension in your shoulders has released, the knots in your stomach have dissolved, the headaches have decreased, the fatigue has lifted. Your body is no longer in constant fight or flight mode, because you're no longer in constant conflict between what you want and what others expect from you. You're finally aligned, mind, body, spirit, all moving in the same direction, and that alignment is healing. Your resources have increased, time, money, energy, all of it, because you're not spending time on relationships that drain you. You're not spending money trying to maintain friendships that were one-sided. You're not spending energy managing other people's perceptions of you. All those resources that were flowing out are now staying in, and you're investing them in yourself, in your growth, in your goals, in your actual life. And the return on that investment is astronomical compared to what you were getting from pouring into people who never poured back. Your confidence has stabilized in a way it never has before, because it's not based on other people's validation anymore. It's based on your relationship with yourself, on your ability to trust your own judgment, on your willingness to stand alone when necessary, on your commitment to your own standards, even when no one's watching. This isn't the loud confidence of someone trying to convince others. This is the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to. And people can feel the difference. The sense exists that you're not performing confidence. You're embodying it. Your decision-making has accelerated. You used to take forever to make decisions because you were consulting everyone, getting opinions, weighing feedback, trying to please everyone. Now you make decisions quickly because you're only consulting yourself and your intuition. And here's what you've discovered. Most decisions aren't as complicated as you made them. The complication came from trying to factor in everyone else's fears and limitations. When you remove that, decisions become clear, obvious even, and you're moving faster than ever because you're not waiting for anyone's permission to live your life. Your joy has returned, not the performed happiness you used to show people, but genuine joy, the kind that bubbles up when you're alone, when no one's watching, when there's no reason to fake it. You're laughing more, smiling for no reason, finding pleasure in small things, because you're not carrying the weight of everyone's problems anymore. You're not responsible for everyone's happiness. You're free to experience your own, and that freedom is intoxicating. Your relationships have upgraded, not in quantity, in quality. You have fewer people in your life now, but the people who remain real, reciprocal, respectful, adding value instead of draining it, celebrating you instead of competing with you, supporting your boundaries instead of testing them. And this is what you were making space for when you released the others. This is what was waiting for you on the other side of people-pleasing, actual authentic connections with people who know how to love without taking. Your standards have risen, and you're meeting them, because you're not compromising anymore. Not on your peace, not on your values, not on your non-negotiables. You used to lower your standards to accommodate people who weren't meeting them. Now you hold your standards firm and let people self-select out if rising to them isn't possible. And the people who can, more respect for you exists. Appreciation that you know your worth exists. Value for the access because knowing it's not given freely to everyone exists. Your future looks different, brighter, more exciting, because you're actually creating it now, instead of just dreaming about it while being busy managing other people's lives. You're taking action on goals you used to just talk about. You're making moves toward the life you want, instead of staying stuck in the life that was comfortable for everyone else. And the momentum is building, every day without the weight of explanation, every day without the burden of people-pleasing, every day choosing yourself. It's accumulating into something powerful, something undeniable, something that's about to shift your entire reality. Now look at where you are. You're no longer anyone's supply. You're no longer the person everyone calls when something is needed but ignores when support is what you need. You're no longer performing your life for people who were never actually applauding for you. You've become sovereign. You've reclaimed your energy. You've taken back your power. You've redefined your worth. And in doing so, you've triggered a cosmic shift that's rearranging your entire reality. The people leaving, supposed to go, the opportunities coming, always yours, the peace you're feeling, that's your natural state when you're not carrying everyone else's chaos. And here's the thing about sovereignty. Once you taste it, you can never go back to being controlled. Once you feel what it's like to live for yourself instead of performing for others, returning to the stage is impossible. Once you understand that your value isn't determined by who validates you, seeking validation altogether stops. You've crossed over. You're on the other side now. And everyone who's having a breakdown about your transformation is just showing you who couldn't make the journey with you. That's not your loss. That's exposure for you to see. The mystery everyone's trying to solve about you. There's no mystery. You simply stopped being available to people who weren't investing in you the way you invested in them. The glow everyone's trying to understand. There's no secret. You simply stopped dimming your light for people who were intimidated by your brightness. The peace everyone's questioning. There's no trick. You simply stopped sacrificing your serenity for people who were addicted to chaos. You didn't become someone new. You became who you always were underneath the conditioning. So as people continue to notice that you stopped explaining yourself, as people continue to process breakdowns over your absence, as people continue to wonder what changed, you keep doing exactly what you're doing. Keep moving in silence, keep protecting your energy, keep honoring your boundaries, keep choosing yourself, keep thriving, because chosen one, this is just the beginning. The person you're becoming, the life you're building, the success you're manifesting, it's all happening because you finally understood one truth that changed everything. You were never anyone's supporting character. You were always meant to be the main character of your own story. And main characters don't explain themselves to background characters who were only there for one season anyway. Main characters don't dim their light for people who were always meant to exit. Main characters don't break down when others leave. Main characters level up and attract better cast members. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're not losing people. You're losing dead weight. You're not ending chapters. You're starting sequels. You're not having a breakdown. You're having a breakthrough. And everyone who's spiraling over your transformation is just proof that you made the right decision. Let the crashing out happen. You rise. That's the only move from here. That's the only option available to someone who finally understands power. Rise, dominate, thrive, and never look back.